our postmodern age of division, anger, anxiety, and confusion, the most dangerous weapon you have is your own mind.
Take control! Question everything!
This is the Intellectual Freedom Podcast.
There's a man sitting under a tree, and this is not just any man, and it's not just any tree either. The man is Siddhartha. The tree is the Bo tree, the old fig tree at Bodh Gaya that the world would come to call the tree of awakening. Siddhartha had spent years searching, starving himself, sitting at the feet of teacher after teacher, philosopher, chasing the thing down every road, chasing things down every single road that he could imagine, the material, the physical, the intellectual, the religious. And now underneath this tree sits Siddhartha. And on this one night, finally, after years of searching, he reaches enlightenment. As the story goes, the whole knot of existence comes untied in his hands. Everything, and I mean everything, is clear. Everything is still. Siddhartha at last, completely and 100% free. And Campbell in the book, he stops the story right here, because right here is where the real test has been hiding through our entire time together in this series. Not back in the trials, not in the initiation, not in the crossing, but right here at this very moment where Siddhartha has reached total victory. He has won, he has enlightenment, he has his hands on the deepest levels of knowledge. But it's right here that there are two choices for Siddhartha, who becomes known as the Buddha. He can stay there. He can remain under that tree, inside that perfect stillness, that perfect peace, so complete that the whole roaring world just sort of falls away from him. And he can rest there, finished, forever. He's already achieved one of the ultimate goals possible, enlightenment. And the tradition is honest that the thought truly came to his mind that what he saw and what he experienced was just far too deep, too subtle, that a world this tangled in its own wanting would never understand it, and that going back to teach it would be nothing but a waste of time, of weariness and heartbreak. Or there was that option number two, to rise up from under the tree, walk back down that dusty road through the heat, into the crowds, back towards the very people who'd stare at him blankly, who, good chance they'd laugh in his face and mock him and ridicule him, who might not want one word that he's carrying back, when he could just spend the rest of his life just trying to hand them something that they would listen to. And the old story says that at that very exact moment of questioning, a god, Brahma, the god, the most powerful god, Brahma, in the Hindu tradition, comes down and begs him not to keep these secrets to himself. The god said, "There are some with only a little dust in their eyes. Teach for their sake. They will be lost if you stay up here." So the Buddha got up He walked to a place called Sarnath, and he opened his mouth, and he gave the rest of it away for 45 years. The peace under the tree was real, but everything you have ever heard of called Buddhism, the thing that crossed half the world and outlasted 25 centuries, none of it comes from the man who found enlightenment. All of it comes from the man who got up and walked back down. That's the whole choice, really. And here's what should stop you cold. Almost every tradition that tells this story agrees on which choice the story is about. It's never about staying. It's never about savoring the victory forever. It's not peace under the tree and a Hollywood fade to black. It's the walking back down. A hero must walk back down. A hero must begin again. The taking on of the next trial, the next battle, the next stretch of pain, even in the midst of overwhelming victory. And in the case of Siddhartha, he had achieved enlightenment. Viktor Frankl, a figure, amazing human being. He survived Auschwitz. He actually built an entire philosophy out of what he learned there. Gave us the sharpest possible version of what we're doing today. He said the question the gurus love to ask, what is the meaning of life? That's the wrong question. It's backwards even. Life is the one asking the question. You're the one who has to answer, not with words, but with your life, with what you actually do with what you've been handed. And there's a real distinction buried in that. You can spend your days on self-evals, personality types, vision boards, trying to figure out the meaning of life. Nothing wrong with it per se, but that's not what the hero does. The hero takes the hand he was dealt and he plays it and he battles what comes and he overcomes what is put in front of him. Frankl never drew up a plan to survive a death camp and impact millions. Nobody dream boards Auschwitz. The world threw it at him at a very young age. And in that place, he had the one choice any of us ever really have. Collapse or take the thing in front of you. He didn't try and predict the meaning of life. He answered it. That's the frame for today. A man under a tree. Two choices. One stays, revels and loves and takes in the victory, keeps it for themselves, and the other one gets up. Both have achieved the same thing. Only one of them means anything to anyone but themselves. I'm Dr. David Hopkins. I am humanities professor, your host and guide through the Intellectual Freedom Podcast. And if you've been with us through this series, you know exactly where we're at. We've walked the whole monomyth, the hero with 1,000 faces, from the ordinary world through the call to adventure to the refusal, then crossing over, going through the road of trials and the abyss. And now the hero has the boon. The hero is standing at the threshold of home. They have finally won. New here, welcome you so much. Go back to episode 1 if you want the whole arc, or stay right here because this is the one the entire series has been building toward. This is the coda. This is where everything we've said either locks into place or it never meant anything at all. I do have to just say on a personal note, this series has been extremely challenging for me. I've worried all along that can I actually, in a span of 4 weeks, even do justice to the depth and breadth of the monomyth and bring in enough examples to help solidify what this means and then to try and translate into how this can impact your own life and how you literally right now are walking through the monomyth. You are somewhere in your life right now living the monomyth. And such a challenging task. But I'm glad you've stayed till the end. I mean that more right now than I bet at any episode we've done, but let's not waste more time. We are now into the 4th chapter of where we began. And way back in episode 2, we talked about that refusal of the call, that cowardice that keeps you home before the journey even begins. And I'll start and the, that mindset, I'll start when things settle down. I'll start tomorrow. I got that on my to-do list. Next month, next year, new year, new me. I'll do that on January 1st, that sort of thing. There's a mirror image of that actually. And it doesn't sit at the beginning of the myth. It's actually right where we're at right now, at the very end of the call. And the first part of this chapter talks about the refusal of the return. And here's what it looks like. The hero has the boon. And you're going to hear me use this term boon, which is so not 2026 modern word. Boon has the treasure, has the award, achieved the greatness. The hero has that thing. They got it, whatever it is. So when you hear the word boon, that's what I'm referring to. So they got the win. They've been through the trials. They went through the darkest times, and then all of a sudden they win and they have clarity and they have depth. And the thing that cost them everything, remember, they had to be stripped down to nothing, and then they look back down the mountain as they sit in glory on the top at the village, at the city, at the culture of society. And they're looking down there now and they see noise and mess and people still asleep, angry people, anxious people, afraid people. And all those people are still stuck in their ordinary world. And something inside of them says, I'm not going back down there. I'm way better than that now. I don't belong in that life. I can't do that again. I don't want to be a part of it. Or maybe a gentler version. Oh my gosh, I'm not ready to share that yet. The vision board that never becomes a plan, the journal nobody will ever read, the retreat that quietly becomes a permanent address, and in its ugliest form, the spiritual narcissist, the person who genuinely did the inner work, really did it, and now keeps it like a private collection, a treasure to be curated and admired. I'm deeper than these people. I'm smarter. I have more money. I don't associate with those kind of people. I see things they'll never understand. So the winner just sits there, unused and unshared. Now, I called that cowardice a second ago, and sometimes it is, but I want to be fair to the whole picture because it's not always that simple. Sometimes it's, I'm scared to go back. Sometimes it's, I don't want to go back, and that's different. Because the village is hard. The village has misunderstood you the first time when you were struggling and trying to get out of it. The village is where the refusal of the call happened in the first place. Might have been your own family, your community, the people who never got you. And now you're supposed to walk back in there carrying a gift they didn't even ask for and may not even want. I mean, that's not nothing. That's real weight. because the return is its own whole journey, its own threshold, its own trials, its own abyss. Some people reach that mountaintop, look at that second journey and think, I already did one of these. I'm content with my win. I'm going to stay right here where I'm at. I mean, I can understand that. I totally do. I do. But Campbell won't let it stand. And the modern myth, the monomyth, will not let that stand. And here's the words, in his words, not mine, quote, "The full round, the norm of the monomyth, requires that the hero shall now begin the labor of bringing the gems of wisdom, the golden fleece, or his sleeping princess back into the kingdom of humanity, where the gift may renew the community, the nation, or the planet," end quote. Read that again, back into the kingdom of humanity. The renewing of the community. That's not optional language. That's not if you sort of feel like it, be great you share that. Campbell is telling us that the full round, the complete pattern of the monomyth, not some truncated version of the hero, requires the hero to return. And the journey that ends at the mountaintop in glory, it's an interrupted one. I mean, the win is beautiful. It's real and it's hard earned. But for the hero, the true hero, there's still unfinished business. So here's the strike. I think this is the load-bearing wall of the entire series, and I want you to hear it exactly as I say it. The win that the hero earned was never for the hero. I know everything we've said for 3 episodes has been building you up. Your call, your crossing, your trials, your abyss, your apotheosis. I've spent hours talking straight to you about your transformation and your illusions burning off, your depth and clarity. All of it is real. And none of it was ever the point. Because as we get to the end of the monomyth, the hero doesn't come back from the underworld to optimize himself. The hero comes back because the people in the village that are still asleep, that are still stuck in the cage, remember the one with the door painted to look like a wall, cannot get the boon for themselves. Somebody has to carry it home for them. And that's you now. That's the hero now. It was always going to be the hero. Let me just give you a few examples. I'll give you 2 ancient, 1 modern. Jesus on the cross. I'm not here to preach you a sermon. I'm pointing at the story that remade the entire Western world. Because the structure of it, beyond any doubt, the monomyth. We have a death, horrific, public, humiliating, total death. And then a return. But not a return to private bliss. A return that opens something for everyone else. The whole point of the resurrection in Christian theology is that it is not kept. It is given away. Eternal life isn't a personal acquisition. It's an offer extended outward. It's a gift handed freely, bought with the blood and the mocking and death of Jesus Christ, given to anyone who will take it. That is the monomyth and the ultimate hero. Dionysus, let's go Greek, torn apart, dismembered, destroyed in some tellings, and brought back. What does he come back as? The god of the vine. Yes, but more than that, the god of the festival, of shared ecstasy, of the whole community celebrating together. His return isn't private restoration. His return becomes a thing an entire people step into together every single year. The dismemberment becomes a gift that gets passed around the table. And from our modern world, I hate to overuse Star Wars, but I got to because, again, Spielberg, master of myth. Luke Skywalker. Remember Luke? We've talked about him many times. Luke goes through the whole trial. The trench run, Vader, the revelation about his father, the entire abyss of Empire and Jedi. And what does he do with that? When he earns it, goes through Yoda, gets that training in the depths of the swamps, he brings it back. He brings back all of his newfound skills, knowledge, talent to the rebellion, to the other people. He helps turn the tide. Now, in the sequels, he does go hide in a cave on a remote planet and meditate. And notice how the story frames that. It frames it as a failure, as the refusal of the return played out on screen, and the whole galaxy suffers for it. The Luke we were taught to celebrate is the one who came back. Now here's a kill shot, and I'll say it as plainly as I can. So listen to this. I've been harping all series on the best self economy and that morning routine, the supplemental stacks, productivity, systems, etc., self-improvement, new me, new year, blah, blah, blah. What this modern mind and what this modern structure of self-improvement, self-help does is it takes the hero's journey and the wisdom, the ancient wisdom of the hero's journey, and it amputates its purpose. Let me explain. So in our modern vernacular, they'll sell you the call. New you. You can do it. They'll sell you the crossing. Step outside your comfort zone. You got the power to do it. They'll sell you the trials. Embrace the grind. They'll even sell you the boon. Unlock your best self. And then they stop. And then they stop right there. Because the return doesn't sell in our modern society, in our me first world that we live. Actually, it's worse than that. You've heard the ad, the guy with the secret to make millions trading stocks. You see them everywhere online and on YouTube. Or the secret to making millions leveraging loans and real estate and selling that $1 million secret to you for $19.99. And why so cheap? Of course it's cheap because he cares so much about getting the truth out to the people. He's not doing this for him. Oh, no, he's doing it for you. And so for a low cost of $19.99, he's going to give you all the secrets. But invariably, there's no evidence he made a dime in his little scheme for your self-actualization. But there is one thing that is guaranteed, 100%, without me even knowing any of them. They are making money selling the $19.99 course. See, that's the monomyth gutted and sold back to you. The return faked. I'm doing this for you. Give me $19.99. With the self still parked dead center in the frame. That's the perversion of postmodernism. That's the perversion of our materialistic society. Because the real return cannot be packaged as a product. I'm going to speak out against a bunch of podcasters right now because it really annoys me. Nothing annoys me more in a podcast than when you're trying to sell stuff in the middle of your podcast. Your own self-help books and your own... my goodness, there's certain podcasters that'll run 15 commercials of them trying to upsell you on some other product. Because if you're really living out the monomyth, the real return can't be packaged as a product. The real return requires you to stop looking at yourself. And the whole wellness economy is built on the exact opposite. The next program, the next level, the next version of you to optimize, which of course costs money. It needs you staring in the mirror. Campbell's hero is the rebuke of it all. Because at the climax of the whole journey, Campbell's hero stops looking in the mirror and walks straight into the fire. And the research backs this up in a way that should genuinely unsettle you. There's a serious body of psychological work going back to researchers like Jean Twang and tracking the rise of narcissistic traits right alongside the rise of culture soaked in self-focus, self-display, self-branding, the endless curation of an online persona. Because a social media platform is structurally a machine for manufacturing an audience for the self. Every post is a small return without a village, in the monomyth language. A boon displayed, but nothing given back. A vision board made public, made monetized, fed back through an algorithm built on self-reference. That's the refusal of the return at civilized scale, at a bastardized scale. Millions of people standing on top of their own private mountains, holding up their treasures. The body, the plate, the lunch plate they had, the highlight reel, how great their kids are, how great their family is. Look at me, look at me, look at me for likes and views, and never going 1 inch deeper. All surface. So what is the alternative? What does it actually look like then to live as someone who has returned according to our book that we're reading and the monomyth? Campbell has a phrase for it. And in this section of the chapter, master of two worlds. And I want to be precise about what that does and doesn't mean. And because it's easy to hear master of two worlds and picture some kind of transcendence floating above it all, untouched, serene. That's not it. That's not it at all. That's the easy version. And it's not what's on offer here. The master of two worlds is the harder thing. It's living fully inside the ordinary world. The job, the feed, the Monday morning, the desert. Go back to Jesus again. He walked as fully man and fully God. He experienced both. But our hero, while carrying the other world inside, is walking in the regular world, being marked by the journey and still buying groceries, still sitting in traffic, still dealing with the same people and the same routines and the same low hum of this is fine. Except now that hum can't trap our hero because our hero's seen what's on the other side. The hero holds both at the same time, permanently, and that is power. Incredible power. Spider-Man. One of our best modern pictures of this that we have, and I think people understand how mythologically precise it actually is. Peter Parker doesn't get to be Spider-Man full time. He's got school, he's got his girlfriend, he's got a job, depending on the version. He's got rent, he's got his Aunt May. He's got ordinary, grinding, unglamorous obligations that do not disappear just because he spent last night swinging between buildings and stopping a catastrophe. The tension of nearly every good Spider-Man story is actually that. Can Peter Parker show up for his ordinary life while carrying everything Spider-Man knows and can do? The mask doesn't replace Peter Parker. It sits on top of him. He has to be both. Same day, often same hour. That's the master of two worlds. Not transcendence, but integration under pressure. Let me give you a myth we haven't touched on yet. Cúchulainn, the great hero of Irish legend. Cúchulainn has what the old texts call ryestrad. the warp spasm, a battle fury that is so total that when it takes him, he becomes almost unrecognizable, monstrous, pure destructive force. And after the battle, he has to come back from that, back to the court, back to ordinary relationships, back to being a man among men with friendships and obligations and a life that does not involve turning into something terrifying. And the myths are clear-eyed about how dangerous that is. There are even stories of Cúchulainn plunging him into vats of water that boil from the heat that's still pouring off his body after a fight. That image has always stuck with me. He comes back from the other world still radiating it. And the job, his and the community's, is to bring that heat down to where he can sit at the table again. That's a master of two worlds. Not the absence of fire. The capacity to sit at the table without burning it down. Now it's time. I want to take you all the way back to where this series started. Back to the desert from episode 1. Back to the machine in the prior episode. Against the Machine from Kingsnorth. And here's where it gets eerie. Genuinely eerie in a way I did not fully appreciate, actually, until I sat with both books and read them back to back. After we finished Kingsnorth, I read again the Hero with the Thousand Faces. It never really stuck with me, but the connection of these two is powerful. Campbell wrote The Hero with the Thousand Faces in 1949. Listen to what he says as his perception of modern life. Quote, "It is not society that is to guide and save the creative hero, but precisely the reverse." And then describing the modern condition exactly that, quote, "The lines of communication between the conscious and unconscious zones of the human psyche have all been cut, and we have been split in two," end quote. Split in two. Now jump forward 70 years, Paul Kingsnorth, and if you were with us for that series, you remember. If not, go back, read it. Kingsnorth writes about what he calls the machine, and a civilization that has systematically dismantled every shared myth, every communal ritual, every frame larger than the individual. And what's left, in his words, is people reduced to economic units, to consumers, producers, data points. The culture tells you that you are exactly two things: what you buy and what you're paid to do. Nothing else, really. No mythic dimension, no role in any story bigger than just yourself and your little existence. Let's put those two men together. A mythologist in 1949, writing in the rubble of World War II, staring at the wreckage of every old shared framework of meaning, says modern people have been split in two, cut off from the depth, cut off from the mythical dimension that every other civilization used to locate, and could find a person inside something larger than their own skin. And then a novelist, 3/4 of a century later, looking at smartphones, iPhones, Wi-Fi, supply chains, algorithmic feeds, arrives at the same diagnosis, different vocabulary, same disease. This is the part I want you to sit with. The machine is not new. It did not arrive with the iPhone. Campbell saw its outline forming in 1949, and he was a master of mythology. Kingsnorth is describing its grown, mature forms. Same organism. The reduction of a human being to a function. The amputation of the part of you that understands your life as a story, as a narrative, as a journey, as something with stakes and shape and meaning that surgery modern consumer surgery has been underway a long time, dissecting us. And it's getting more and more efficient. And here's where it all collapses into a single argument. Every civilization that has lasted more than a generation or two has had a frame larger than the individual. There's always a shared myth, a cosmology, rituals that locate one human life inside something bigger than themselves, a community, a cosmic order, a story that started before you and keeps going after you. See, the machine of postmodernism despises that frame. It hates your shared story. It hates your history. It will dismantle it by any means possible. It'll do anything to dissolve it, to confuse you about your own past, your own stories, your own inheritance, because postmodernism only wins, the machine only wins when the frame collapses and gets replaced with nothing but the self alone in a marketplace, a global marketplace. Lots of cool gadgets in the global market, but still alone. Campbell is the proof. In the great museum of human storytelling across every culture and every era, that the frame was real and it was universal. It's buried in your collective unconscious, in mine, in people from ancient Greece, Samaria, Egypt, Israel, Africa, Latin America. Kingsnorth is the proof in the present tense, in the world you and I actually live in, that is trying to erode that away. And the only honest response for anyone who can see both of those things clearly, it's not nostalgia, wishing for the good old days. It's not, if only we could go back. It's not coming back. Sort of like the hero when they're in the abyss. By fire, amputation, you have to strip what has happened away and rebuild it. Not the same frame. Can't manufacture myth on a command. And everyone who tries ends up with something hollow and propagandistic. But the function of the frame, community, shared story, a horizon bigger than yourself, that can be rebuilt person by person, home by home. And not for yourself. You don't do that just for yourself. That's the whole point of this episode, not for yourself. Campbell's final stage has a name, and it's called Freedom to Live. And I want to close right here because this is the whole reason this show is called what it is. The hero who has returned with the boon, integrated it as a master of two worlds, and given it away to the people standing in the desert. The hero is finally free, but not free from obligation, free for it. And that is the world of difference. There's an older definition of freedom, and it has almost completely vanished from how we use the word now. Modern freedom mostly means freedom from our own constraint, from our own obligation, from interference. We should be able to do us whenever we want to do it. The older definition, the one Campbell is pointing at, the one that this show is named for, is freedom for something. Not freedom from something, but freedom for something. Intellectual freedom is not freedom from thought, from challenge, or from difficulty. It's freedom for thought, clear, courageous, undistracted thought in service of the people standing right next to you and I. So here's where we land. After 4 episodes and one complete walk through the monomyth with all kinds of twists and turns. I appreciate you hanging on with me for that. The hero has crossed. The hero suffered. The hero returned. And the only question left, the only one that actually matters now, is also the most practical question in the entire series. Can the hero carry that gift through Monday morning without dropping it? Campbell doesn't answer that, and I want to be honest about it. Campbell gave us something extraordinary. He gave us the map, the whole shape of the journey, validated across cultures and every age of human storytelling, but a map doesn't train your legs. Campbell hands you the shape of the thing. He does not hand you the discipline to actually live it. Day after day in an ordinary life with the machine pulling at you the entire time. There's one book I know that does that, and I've read it once a year for years now, and it's Meditations. It's written by one of history's great Roman emperors, Marcus Aurelius. Private journal, actually, didn't even write it for the public. Written by a man running an empire, the Roman Empire, trying every single day to be the master of two worlds. And that's our next series. We're going through it together. But for tonight, for the end of this journey, I don't want to leave you with a feeling. I want to leave you with the task. The hero is the one who starts digging. But the returned hero, the one who finished the whole journey, all of it, is the one who turns and hands the shovel to the person standing next to them and helps guide them as they start to dig. See, the boon was never yours. The treasure wasn't yours. It never was. So bring it home and use what you have, your skills, your talents, your knowledge, your wisdom, your intellect, your kindness, your generosity, whatever it is. Bring it home to your community, bring it home to your family, bring it home to your city, your state, and give it away. I'm Dr. David Hopkins. This is the Intellectual Freedom Podcast. Thank you for listening in, and I will see you as we begin our next series together.